Many of us went to law school to fight for justice and maybe even change the world. As practicing attorneys, we see that those who most need access to the legal system don't have it. As a bar and as a community, we do not believe that justice should be predicated on having money or being perfect. We believe that our justice system should protect all of us equally. For decades, many of this bar have stepped up to help those who need an advocate to protect their rights and meet their most basic needs: safety, housing, healthcare. 40 years ago, our bar founded Pisgah Legal Services to be a resource to our neighbors in crisis, and hundreds of our members have provided pro bono service through the Mountain Area Volunteer Lawyer Program. As pro bono attorneys, our clients come to us in their darkest moments, when they're hurt, vulnerable, and afraid. They trust us to fight for justice and protect their dignity, their families, and sometimes even their lives. Many of you have upheld this bar's exemplary tradition of service, and today we honor and appreciate all of you, and we highlight a few of the outstanding volunteer lawyers among us.
We honor and appreciate Larry Harris for a lifetime of kind and generous service. Larry has been an active volunteer lawyer helping low-income people since the early 1980s when he began practicing in Asheville. Larry has contributed more than 700 hours of service, helping 929 clients. He has served on the Pro Bono hotline as well as providing extended service to many. Larry has made a tremendous difference in our community.
For me personally, it is the thanks I get from the clients I've represented, and just the general feeling that you're helping someone with a legal problem. Everybody needs a lawyer at some point in their life. Some people can't afford lawyers, so you get a lot of satisfaction with helping somebody, whether they can afford you or not. I was contacted by Pisgah and asked if he needed some estate planning work. So he contacted me, needed a will, power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, but he asked if it was possible if we could come and visit him, because he was disabled and he just had difficulty with transportation and difficulty with getting into the office. So we were happy to do that. I've had a great paralegal and legal assistant for years. We got our documents in order and our witnesses we needed, and we went out and visited the gentleman who lived out in Candler in a mobile home. Very nice gentleman, and he was just so appreciative of the fact that we would come out there and help him, and the feeling was mutual. He was such a nice gentleman, and I was certainly happy to help him with his estate planning, and he's since passed away. It would be much more difficult if they didn't have help, legal help. It's hard, to get through society without legal assistance once in a while. Pisgah Legal Services is truly one of the great resources of Western North Carolina, and I'm happy to have worked with Pisgah, and I would encourage all attorneys to continue to do so.
Bo Carpenter began doing Mabel cases just out of law school and has provided almost 400 hours of legal help to people in need. Bo has been a dedicated hotline volunteer and has taken many cases for representation. In the last year, Bo provided more than 100 hours of legal help to a local client facing a housing crisis. We appreciate and honor Bo as an amazing and generous advocate for justice.
I do pro bono service because I believe every citizen in this country has an obligation to do community service in general, and attorneys specifically have a set of skills that they can use to help the community. And one of those is helping out those who are less fortunate with legal representation, whether in the court system or just providing legal advice. And so Mayville is great. That program is great because it provides an easy opportunity for attorneys in Buncombe County to volunteer their time and to help people in the community on a pro bono basis. help with their legal issues, and any kind of advice you can give them to help them with a difficult period in their life. Well, there's a lot of people in our community who need legal advice and who can't afford an attorney. These days, attorneys, really for the vast majority of our population, are beyond the means of people to afford. And so for us to, as an attorney, to be able to help these people out pro bono, I think is even a greater obligation as attorneys get more and more expensive, and you have people in the community who just can't afford to pay an attorney. So to be able to help those people is something I get a lot of benefit from, and something I think every attorney should engage in and should do as part of their obligation as being an attorney. It's a privilege to be an attorney and to help out people, both to get paid and on a pro bono basis. So we shouldn't treat those who need help any differently based on their income levels. I'd particularly like to encourage young attorneys to get involved in Mayville. And that's something I did when I first came out of law school. And by doing that, it gave me practical skills that I was able to apply to my practice and that I still apply today. And I think it's also worthy to note that, I couldn't have done this without the support of the law firms I've worked for. So I think even though this is an individual award, it's something that we need to recognize that it's the law firm's time that's being used. And without the support of the firms in town, particularly the larger firms, there wouldn't be a Mayville program. And so I think we should give some credit to those law firms that are supportive of pro bono attorneys like me and Mayville. Volunteering for Mayville is a very easy process. They make it very easy.
Justin Sigmund has been a cornerstone of the Mayville expungement team for many years, helping more than 60 of our neighbors to clear years-old criminal records so that they can get jobs, housing, and education to improve their lives. Justin has donated more than 200 hours of service, and his pro bono clients remark on his compassion and generosity.
The reason I do pro bono work for Mayville is there's a great group of folks there at Mayville, at Pisgah, who do great work all throughout Western North Carolina. There are lots of clients who are in need. There's a very dire need for indigent and underserved populations here in the mountain counties. I've done a lot of work with the expungement clinic, and I have a client. She had been convicted of several criminal offenses back, 10, 15 years ago or so. Went ahead and did a motion for appropriate relief and got those convictions dismissed. We struck the convictions, and the state then took a dismissal, which opened her up to be able to get an expungement. The reason she came, obviously, to Pisgah was because there were a lot of collateral consequences that she was dealing with. I believe in her particular case it was housing and employment. Just was not able to get a leg up basically because of her prior criminal history, even though it had been some 15 or plus years. A lot of times if these folks weren't able to get the help that they need, then they're unable to make those changes and better themselves. Doing pro bono work is very worthwhile. It's important not only to the community, it's important to the profession.
Cindy Eller was a Mayville volunteer for more than 20 years while in practice in Asheville. Since her retirement, Cindy has become an incredible resource to Pisgah Legal's housing team. Cindy volunteers once per week, providing advice and representation to low-income people facing housing crises. In the past year, Cindy has helped more than 70 clients in need. In retirement, Cindy is an outstanding community servant and an invaluable member of Pisgah Legal's team.
There are so many people out there who need help and can't afford an attorney. And this is one way that I can give back by taking some of my time and energy to help those who can't help themselves. If my clients did not have me or someone like me handling their cases, many of them would lose their homes. Many of them would have to live in mice-infected, bed-bug-infected, horrible conditions. And having an attorney, a Mayville attorney, to represent them gets them out of a situation where it's really uninhabitable, but they're living there because that's all they can afford. And it really gives me a great sense of satisfaction to be able to make sure that they get out of such situations and into something that's safe. The rewards to me are the joy that I get from knowing that I have helped someone who needs it. I've had many a person tell me when I'm doing the housing advice line that they just needed to hear something like this, they needed the guidance, and they were really happy and ready to take off and go do whatever they needed to do. And if I wasn't there to help them, so many of them have said, I just didn't know which way to turn. And then I just recently did a closing where the woman thought she had bought the property, sent the deed to me, and it just happened to be an agreement to buy. And she'd been living there and paying seller financing monthly, and she didn't own the property. So I was able to get her the property. And those people are like, you know, they're shaking your hands, they're giving you a hug, and that just really feels good, and they are feeling good, which is the key thing. I don't think you could get any greater satisfaction as being a Mayville attorney and seeing the appreciation and the joy that these people have when you've been able to get them from a nasty situation, a sticky situation, unhealthy situation into a point where they feel like they can go on and live right again. Yeah, clients need some kind of a direction because most of them have absolutely no knowledge of the legal system. They have no idea what their rights are, and they need somebody to tell them, yes, this is okay, what you've done is okay, don't do this, but do this, and just give them comfort in knowing that it's going to be okay. I would encourage every attorney to do Mayville if they can. I've learned in working at Pisgah that there are some of them that Pisgah's kind of afraid to assign to somebody because they're afraid that they won't take any more or anything, and my encouragement to everybody, both in Pisgah and mostly with the attorneys out there, is take the case. You will not believe how good it makes you feel, and you're doing something right. It's such a cliche to say give back to the community, but that's what you're doing.
Thank you to all of you who help our neighbors and lift up our profession through your pro bono service. You are making a difference. Together, we can create hope, improve lives, and strengthen our community for all.